Alright, so jumping right into it, today's extreme budget build starts off with the desk, of course. Today we're using a 47-inch by 24-inch Linman desk from IKEA. These desktops are purchased separately from the legs, and you can get a full desk with the legs for about $20, maybe $25. These desks are pretty great for the money that you spend on them. They are not the most high quality, and they are pretty lightweight. So if you do type aggressively on your keyboard, chances are your desk is going to be shaking a little bit. But for the budget at hand today, this desk will do just fine. Now, assembling these desks is super simple. All you have to do is attach 5 screws for each leg, and that's how the legs are attached to the desktop. All the hardware is supplied, so no worries there. And once you get all those legs installed, you can flip your desk back over and you are ready to start putting some accessories and some other hardware on top of your new desk. So first things first, we need to get a monitor on our desktop here, and sticking with the theme of extremely low budget, we went with this Walmart HP monitor here. I believe this is 24 inches, 1080p, 60 Hz max. You can get these monitors on eBay for about $60 to $70 used, and usually they're still in pretty good condition. These things only went for about $100 when they were brand new. So that's what I did. I got mine online for about $70, and though it's certainly not the most high quality monitor, it doesn't have the greatest specs. For the money, I think this is just about as good as you're going to get. Plus it looks nice. It has some pretty thin bezels on the sides and the top as well, so that's always a plus. And of course, you can't have a gaming setup without some RGB LED lighting. And for that, I'm just using these $5 Monster RGB strips that I got at Walmart. These things are super cheap, but they're also super great. I've used these in much more expensive builds on my channel as well, and they've never let me down. So these are pretty simple to install. Basically, there's an adhesive strip on the back of the strip that you just use to attach it to the monitor or your desk, whatever you want to attach it to. However, I found that the LED strips adhesive that it comes with doesn't like to hold very well. So what I like to do is take some clear packing tape and just put some clear packing tape over the LED strip as it's attached to the monitor, and that will help to hold it on. I use this trick on all of my builds, and I've never had any of that packing tape ever let go, whereas the adhesive that comes on the strips will fall off within 24 hours. These strips require a USB Type-A power connection, so you can use either like a phone charging brick or your PC, whatever you want to use. Personally, I'm choosing to run a USB extension to a wall outlet with a phone charging brick. That just seems to be easiest for me. And as you'll see later in the video, we're going to be using some zip ties to hold that power cable directly behind the monitor stand, and that will just make it look kind of invisible and virtually cableless. So if your LED strip is a little bit too long once you finish installing them, there are little lines on the LED strip where you can cut off the excess. They are marked with a little scissor icon. You just have to look for it on the strip. You want to make sure you cut it there and not anywhere else, because if you do cut it in the wrong spot, there's a good chance that some of your LEDs are not going to receive power and they won't light up. And here's what the LED strips look like when they are powered on. I know the install doesn't look great on the back of the monitor, but once it's up against the wall, the LEDs reflecting off of the wall will actually look a lot better, even though it doesn't look great right now. So as for the keyboard and mouse, again, we don't have a huge budget for today's build, so we went with just about the cheapest thing I could find on Walmart's website. This is a $20 gaming mouse and keyboard set. Obviously, you're not going to get any kind of mechanical keyboard for this price range, at least not one that's new. So this is just a simple membrane RGB gaming keyboard and a matching RGB gaming mouse. The RGB LEDs that are inside of the mouse and keyboard are not very bright at all, and the keys are not actually backlit. So just a word of caution, if you can't afford something a bit better than this, I would recommend it, because these are pretty trash. But given the budget at hand, this is what I chose to go with, and if this is your budget as well, these will work just fine. It is a functional keyboard and a functional mouse, And for the budget, all we really need is something that actually works, which these things do. So as for the cables for the mouse and keyboard, I drilled a hole in the desk that was big enough to fit the USB-A connectors on the mouse and keyboard cables, and I just routed them underneath the desk. So basically, the whole idea here is that only the mouse cable is visible, and that is directly rounded underneath the keyboard, and the keyboard sits over top of the hole, which effectively just hides the hole and the cables, which gives the setup just a much more clean look and almost makes it look like you're using a wireless mouse and keyboard, which makes it look more expensive if you're into that. And for the actual headset itself, we have an MPOW EG3 Pro gaming headset. Again, nothing crazy here. It is a cheap headset, but it is a headset with a microphone, which is great. It means you don't have to buy an external microphone, which would add to the budget. So when I was picking these out, I just tried to get the most comfortable looking headset I could below $20. And this is what I came up with. These things are pretty comfortable. They do have nice cushions on the earmuffs, and there isn't a whole lot more to be said about these. The mic quality is not great as you would expect, and neither is the audio quality from the actual headphones themselves, but it will get the job done as with the rest of this setup. So we have this glossy black plastic $5 Amazon headphone stand that I got, and this thing isn't great. It is pretty lightweight as well, and this thing will tip over if you even touch it or look at it the wrong way, so you have to be careful about that. I would recommend using some adhesive below the headphone stand just to keep it on the desk without falling over, but for the sake of the video I chose not to do that, and I just set it on the desktop, which did fine, but it did fall over a few times during the recording of this video. And with that, this is today's final product for the $150 gaming setup build. This was a pretty challenging budget to work with, as you know, a lot of the stuff that I'm used to using is quite a bit more expensive than these products here. But this is a fully functional gaming setup, and you can just throw your PC or your console, whatever you're using, just throw that in there and you're good to go. I think this looks pretty great too. The RGB LED strips behind the monitor really do make a huge difference in appearance, even though that doesn't really mean anything. Functionality is more important than looks, but it does help to have a good looking setup to make it more enjoyable while you're at it, and I think this does look pretty great. Also, here's a few shots with the lights off. It does look even better in the dark, and those LEDs in the keyboard and mouse tend to pop when the lights are off, even though you can't really see them when the lights are on because they're so dim. Anyways, that wraps up today's gaming setup build video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you want more gaming setup builds, let me know in the comments down below and by liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys all in the next build.